birthday to Fern. Fern is 5 years old today, everybody. So tune in now. We're gonna feed her some tasty stuff. Once she's done scratching, here you go. Are you ready? There you go, girl. Oh, she says no thank you. Only birthday cake for Fern today. All right, y'all, well, we're gonna get started with Take a Break with Jake. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Jake, and I'm here at the zoo with our pal Fern, whose birthday it is today. She's 5 years old. Now, Fern is a Linne's two-toed sloth. This is a species of sloth that's found in Central and South America. They're primarily rainforest canopy dwellers, so they're found high up in the trees. And this particular species, the Linne's two-toed sloth, is found in the northern part of South America in countries like Guyana and Venezuela. This is one of the larger species of sloths, and there are actually 6 different kinds of sloths, 6 different species found throughout Central and South America. There are 4 species that are considered 3-toed sloths, and then 2 species that are considered 2-toed sloths. Kind of a good way of finding out is if you look at their front feet. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about their toes. She has 2 big nails here, so she's 2-toed. Don't let it fool you, because all sloths have 3 nails on the back foot. So that's like kind of confusing. However, that's how you can tell 2-toeds from 3-toeds. Look at the front feet, always. So sloths, like I mentioned, are found in the rainforest. They weigh up to about 20-25 pounds for this species. She's a big girl. She's 24 pounds. So she does have a lot of fur covering her entire body, but she's also like big boned. She's heavy, which helps her because sloths hang from branches of the trees throughout their entire lives. And if you look closely as she's moving, you notice that her feet are curved, and then those claws hook in so she can hold onto the branches of the trees really nicely without having to expend much energy. So sloths are considered part of the Xenarthra family, which means that their close relatives are armadillos and anteaters. It's basically the best group of mammals besides cats. That's a fact from your friend Jake. Similarities within...
You're never biased.
No. It's just fact. Similarities within the family include these big old claws, so they have big nails, most of the species do. They have weird dentition, which we can talk about a little bit later. And then they have extra articulations between their vertebrae, which help them bend and flex in different ways, which is kind of cool. So the Xenarthrans are all really cool creatures, and the literal translation of the word has something to do with odd or weird, which is kind of interesting, but it's talking about their vertebrae, not just their physical being, kind of weird. But sloths and anteaters and armadillos are all kind of a little bit weird, and that just makes them all the more lovable. Sloths move really slowly, which most people know, and that's because of what they eat and how they kind of process that food. So sloths are herbivores for the most part, and they eat lots of vegetation with the occasional insects here and there. They have chambered stomachs, more like a goat or a cow, and they rely on bacteria within their chambers to kind of ferment their food and break it down so they can extract nutrients from it. Because of this, they can't move very quickly because it takes a lot of energy to do that, and they don't always have a lot of energy from the leaves that they eat. Something kind of cool, kind of sad at the same time, a sloth can actually starve to death with a full stomach. And that's because if their body temperature gets too low, their gut bacteria can die off, and then it's unable to break down the food in their stomach, so they can't even process that food. So then they can actually starve to death just because it's too cold. So we always make sure that Fern is a warm and toasty temperature. She likes it usually around 76 degrees Fahrenheit. She likes it much hotter as well. And then she always likes to have plenty of humidity. And that's because she's a rainforest dweller. She makes her home in the rainforest where it's nice and hot and humid. So we try to recreate those temperatures here at the zoo for her. Now, a quick side note, you may have seen our male sloth, Emmett. He actually lives out in the aviary. He is there all the time, and that's the one that most guests get to see when they visit the zoo. Fern lives behind the scenes as one of our ambassador animals, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. So I mentioned Xenarthran teeth before, and they're actually really kind of cool. If Fern opens her mouth big and wide for this piece of squash, will you help us out here, Fern? There you go, those fangs. Wow, how cool is that? So they actually don't have any enamel on their teeth, but their teeth are very fang-like, and they use that to rip off all the kinds of vegetation that they love to eat. And they basically feed, like I mentioned before, by hanging, just like Fern is showing you right now, and just shoveling leaves and tree twigs and bark into their mouths and just chopping it down. So pretty easy for them to eat. They just move throughout the treetops throughout the day and graze. Median life expectancy for the sloth is about 16 years in human care, but they can live over 40 years. Isn't that wild?
That's a big difference.
Thank you. I was waiting for a reaction.
I'm sorry. I made it with my face, but since I'm wearing a mask, you can't see it.
Yeah, so they can live a really long time, which is really kind of cool. Less, obviously, in the wild due to habitat loss and poaching, but in human care, sloths can live a really long time. I forgot to show you, too, when we were talking about her diet. Everybody's always interested in, like, what sloths here at the zoo eat. So we have a lot of different things to offer her. We have some squash, we have some sweet potatoes, some carrot, pear, some kind of white root vegetable that I don't actually know. Maybe jicama. Who knows? Our commissary staff does. That's who. And then she also gets this patty, which is really her favorite thing. This has chia seeds and these little biscuits that she loves, broken down and blended together to make a really nice, tasty morsel for her. And so we'll see if Fern is interested. This is basically her birthday cake that she gets every single day.
God, what a dream to have all your favorite foods every day.
Every day, yeah. It's kind of helpful when you only eat healthy food. You can eat all of your favorite foods every day. You know, like if your favorites are healthy. Donuts are not healthy. I've been told many times.
Weird.
Yeah.
Never would have thought that.
It's a real bummer. So Fern in particular, I hand this up to you, thank you. Fern just turned 5 years old today, so it is her birthday if you missed that earlier. So she's full grown, and like I mentioned earlier, she does weigh 24 pounds, so she's a big girl. She's actually a couple pounds bigger than our male sloth, Emmett, who lives in the aviary. And she came to the zoo a while back from a facility in Florida. She is an ambassador animal, so she helps us connect people to wildlife. So instead of being on exhibit here at the zoo, her job is to travel off-site with us to different programs. She comes out for encounters here on zoo grounds. This is obviously all pre-pandemic, but hopefully in the future, Fern will be back out in front of people. But until then, you can actually join us on a virtual tour right here at the zoo with Fern, our beautiful two-toed sloth. She has her tour day on Thursdays at 2 p.m. and you can find out all the information on the naturalzoo.org website.
Yep, I've got the direct link in our description for this video. It's naturalzoo.org/backstage.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I try to be helpful.
Yeah, so you can check out Fern and actually get to have like a face-to-face via video chat meeting with her, ask any questions you have, learn more about her, and really just soak up being in her presence. And you can actually meet a handful of our other animals like binturongs, clouded leopards, Winslow the aardvark, and flamingo chicks, all on those virtual backstage pass tours. So I highly recommend those if you haven't already checked them out. Fern's favorite things here at the zoo, food is like a big one. She loves being handed food and treats. So she eats cooked sweet potato readily. She really loves flowers that are safe for her to eat. And then she also really loves hard-boiled egg, which I didn't get for her today, which is a real bummer. You'll get that tomorrow. I know. The birthday girl should get some egg today, huh? Maybe we'll get some later. Her other favorite thing, Kelsey, you're gonna have to pan down here and look.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, she's doing it right now. It's so gross. She likes scent marking. That's what's happening right here. So once she moves,
oh my.
Look, it's fresh.
That's a really big one.
Yeah, there's more all along the perch here. So she likes saying, hey, this is mine. Which, like, you can have that, Fern. I'm not gonna fight her for it.
Yeah, I almost touched it earlier, and thank goodness Johnny stopped me.
Yeah, if you grab the perch like to deconstruct it, and you're not paying attention, you might put your hand in one of the fresh spots, and then you smell like sloth all day long, and it's not a good smell. But scent marking is a really great way for sloths to communicate with other sloths in the wild. Instead of vocalizing a lot, which they'll mainly do when they're looking for a mate, the females will vocalize. Primarily, though, they're going to rely on their sense of smell to communicate, which means that they're going to scent mark all over the branches of the trees to say, hey, this is mine. It also helps give them a sense of direction and allows them to find out, like, okay, I've been here before, or maybe there's another sloth here that I don't really like. So how are sloths doing in the wild, you ask? let me tell you. Yeah, so in the wild, the Linne's two-toed sloth is considered least concern by the IUCN, which is the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. They're kind of one of the governing bodies that tells us like how animal species are doing in the wild based on scientific reports. So fortunately, they're doing pretty well out in the wild currently. They do have lots of predators in the wild, things like harpy eagles and jaguars and pumas, snakes, pretty much anything you can imagine that might eat some kind of mammal would try to eat sloths. And because they move pretty slowly, they can be a pretty easy sitting target. To help them out with that, they have really cool curved fur that's really coarse, and it allows water to cling to it and then allows algae and other small plants to grow. So wild sloths are typically a lot more green, and that helps them camouflage or blend into their surroundings. So those eagles and all those other predators that I mentioned have a harder time of spotting them. Poaching and habitat loss are kind of the two main threats to sloth species throughout the world. The world being Central and South America, where they're found, obviously. So what we can do to help out is support conservation-minded organizations like your Nashville Zoo. We actually send a large chunk of our proceeds every year from you visiting or donating to the zoo or participating in different programs to different conservation organizations worldwide. So that's beyond just the stuff that we are able to do in our own backyard. We can help out animals like sloths that live far away. One of my favorite partner organizations that we work with is called RAREC. And their website is rarec.org. It's RAREC.org. And they are actually based out of Peru, and they do a lot of rehabilitation and rescue and release of native Peruvian animals, like the two-toed sloth, back out into the wild, which is really incredible. So I highly recommend checking them out if you have time later today. And if you do have the funding, make a donation to RAREC. They're amazing partners down there, and they do some really cool work. So now, Kelsey, I know everybody loves Fern, and people just love to love sloths.
It's true.
So do we have any viewer questions that we can take?
Oh boy, do I.
Okay.
Jake, first let's talk about you.
Wow.
Your favorite thing.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. That was rude of me. Andrea wants to know, how did you become a zookeeper?
I became a zookeeper after learning more about zoos and like visiting my local zoo when I was young. And I started off volunteering at my local zoo when I was 13. Shout out to the Akron Zoo, which is still one of the best zoos in the world. Fact, not opinion. Since then, I've been interning and volunteering at different zoos till I got my first full-time job right out of college, and I graduated with a degree in zoo and wildlife biology. And then I came here to the Nashville Zoo. That's a little story about me.
That was a good story.
Thank you.
Let's see. I've got questions about their senses,
Okay.
Jake. So can you talk to me about the eyesight, the smelling, all of those good things?
I'm not sure how much you can see on the camera, Kelsey, but her pupils are super dilated. I think dilated is the, or is it
They're
not?
tiny. They're
I don't remember.
Not, I don't know.
Whichever version of dilated means really small. I don't know. Anyway, they're really tiny right now, which means that she's not allowing a ton of light in, which is telling us that she can't see super well right now. Sloths kind of hit their peak energy level early in the morning and late in the afternoon, so they're called crepuscular animals, which means they're out at dawn and dusk. And so instead of that throughout the day, they're going to primarily rely on that sense of smell. And you can see Fern, like many other animals that have a really acute sense of smell, she has a gigantic nose, and she's using that to smell everything going on around her. She's also got some boogers, so don't look too closely. Fern, let me just help you out here, girl.
Love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. What about,
Can we come down here?
I don't know where I was going with that question. I'm so
Okay.
sorry. It
What
just
about?
left me. Why does she walk upside down? That's from Emily.
So sloths are built to be able to grab different leaves and branches that other species aren't able to reach. So monkeys that kind of crawl on the top of the branches can reach all kinds of things left and right, but they can't always reach things down low. So sloths have evolved over the years to be able to grab things that other creatures aren't able to grab because they're hanging upside down.
And Jake, I know in the past we've had these lives with Fern, and we've talked about how their bodily system has changed from being upside down. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so their brain flips the image in their head. So what they're seeing when they're hanging upside down is right side up to them. So Kelsey, if you
This
were,
boggles my mind every time.
Yeah, if you were hanging on this perch and avoiding all the scent marks, like you should, it would be upside down for you and disorienting. For Fern, everything right now is normal and good. If she were to flip over, which she sometimes will randomly do in her house, she goes down to the ground or goes on top of her little house and then sits kind of like this. And then her head is facing what we consider normal. You can tell that she's disoriented. She like doesn't really know what's going on, but she like gets herself into this pickle and then gets herself out when she's done being disoriented. I think she sometimes does it for fun and other times does it just like because she's not thinking and then it's like, oh bother, here I am. But because she's slow moving, she's not really in a rush to correct that. So everything's pretty normal for her when she's hanging upside down. She certainly has a reinforced spine, which helps hold the weight of all of those organs within her body. And then because sloths are slow moving, they actually will go to the bathroom all the way down on the ground. And that's because they don't want to attract, thank you so much, predators by going to the bathroom way high in the trees. Because of that, they can actually store up to 1 gallon of urine in their bladder and then go to the bathroom maybe once a week. So once a week or so, they climb all the way down to the forest floor, go to the bathroom, and then climb all the way back up. And that really helps them because if she were to let loose way high in the sky and pee or poop from 40 feet up in the trees, Fern would attract all kinds of predators that might be like, oh, hey, we found this sloth that's going to the bathroom. And then they'll come and eat her, which would not be good. So instead of doing that, sloths will climb all the way to the ground to go to the bathroom.
I've seen a couple of questions about her size. Jake, you mentioned she's 24 pounds, but can we get a hand for scale or something here for the size of her body? How long would you say she is?
As long as my arm, which is, let's say 2.5 feet from nose to the bottom.
Okay. And Megan's asking how like big can their fur get? So like, can we see that?
Yeah, this is a good view here. It's almost 3 inches long and it's beautiful right now. She's very clean right now. I don't know how. Have you been cleaning yourself? Hi. She's like, are you touching me? Do you want more of this? Come over here, babe. You're all contorted. Come all the way up here. Sometimes she forgets that she has feet to move and she like tries to move without moving one of her feet and then gets frustrated that she like can't get through.
Yep.
And it's like you just gotta, it's hard to communicate.
I can relate to that though.
So you have to just kind of like give her toe a little touch and be like, that's the one you need to move, girlfriend.
Tammy's wondering, can they be aggressive?
They certainly can, Tammy. One of my worst bites that I've ever gotten from an animal was from a sloth. They have a lot of bacteria, like I mentioned, that goes through their gut, but it also harbors in their mouth. And they use that to help break down things. But those fang-like teeth can provide a really strong bite, and that bacteria can make a really bad infection, which is what happened to me. So don't get bit by a sloth, and you'll be fine.
Yep. And word of advice, don't try to hug a sloth either.
Yeah, no, they don't like that.
No.
Yeah. Fern has been with us here at the zoo for most of her life. Even when she was really little, she came to us when she was about this big. We would try to like touch her and like give her some love and attention. She was like, I'm good, thank you. Just feed me all the things and I'm happy. No complaints here. We just do what she wants. Hi. She's just sniffing away. This is like what she likes to do. Just hang out, chill,
And
do her
smell
thing.
things.
Yeah.
I got a question earlier, Jake, about those scent marks.
Yeah.
Can you describe the smell for our friends that don't have smell-o-vision?
Yeah, so sloth urine is really concentrated, and so they'll sometimes move some of their urine back and forth, and that just smells really bad. Think of like, if you peed in the toilet and then didn't flush for a week, it would smell even worse than that. It's real bad because it sits in their body for so long. She said no thank you to the sweet potato. Do you want to try again? She said absolutely not. Thank you, Johnny, my food giver. The scent marks, like, just come get another look at this
I'm
picture.
coming.
Yeah. Look how brown that is.
Yeah.
Just like, picture that and think about what that would smell like.
What does brown smell like?
and it came from there. Not good. I can't even put it into words. It's just not good. Just avoid it at all costs. Yeah. When she was younger, we would carry her on our body a little bit more. She like learned how to climb onto us, and she would like hang with her giant claws on the back of your neck, and then her bottom like right on your stomach or chest, and she would literally scent mark on you, and it was horrific. And then like of course like she's holding on to you, and so her giant nails are digging into your flesh. So I do not recommend holding sloths or like hugging sloths.
Overall, not a good experience.
Yeah, not fun for you or the sloth usually.
I got a couple questions about the sloth in the aviary, and for those of you just tuning in, this is not the sloth in the aviary. This is Fern. She's an ambassador animal. Emmett is our sloth that lives in the aviary, and I gotta say, he is the master of hide and seek. That boy can hide. So if you haven't seen him, it's not just you. Even I have trouble doing that. So let's see. And Eddie, to answer your question, Emmett doesn't really go outside the aviary unless he has like a checkup with the vet or needs some sort of care.
Just reaching around. Hey, Fern. Hi.
Let's see. Molly Ann is wondering, Jake, how verbal is she? Yeah.
Not really at all. She'll once in a while like hiss if she gets upset by something, and usually that's like a loud noise that startled her that like we didn't see coming or couldn't control. But typically they don't make a lot of noise.
Ooh, I just saw a message come into my DMs from, I think it was Anessa. Does she shed, Jake?
Hair will fall out, but because she's a tropical animal, she doesn't like shed her fur. It's all kind of always there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like randomly hair
like
will
a hair
fall
will fall out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. This is a really good question from one of our kid viewers, Jake. Peyton, age 8, wants to know, why are they so cute?
Hi, Peyton. I don't know why people think sloths are so cute. I just don't know. I feel like a lot of it came when Kristen Bell went on the Ellen DeGeneres show a couple years ago and was like freaking out over how much she loves sloths. And then from that point, I know that a lot of people who previously didn't like sloths all of a sudden really did, because it was like hyped up. But then there are like lifelong sloth lovers like you, Peyton, who just really love how cute they look. I have no answer for it. I think that they are very fascinating creatures, but I also think that the other members of their family, the armadillos and the anteaters, are like 10 times cuter than sloths. That's an opinion, not a fact.
Thank you for that distinction.
You're welcome. Always trying to be honest over here on Take a Break with Jake.
Absolutely.
Can I get a little more? Thank you so much. Try pear. Try more.
Autumn is dropping the knowledge for us, Jake. Constricted pupils.
God bless you, Autumn. So sorry that I'm not prepared to answer that kind of question. Constricted makes total sense.
Megan and I believe someone else that I saw are asking, oh dear, about the nails situation.
Yeah, what about their nails? You want to know?
How long can they get?
They can get quite a bit longer than what you're seeing here. This, I would say, is about 3 inches is probably closer to accurate. Does that help? I don't know. So about 3 inches long, but they can get closer to 4 or even 5 inches long, but that's when you get into the territory of like overgrown nails.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever trim them?
Typically, I don't trim them, but every once in a while I see one that looks crazy long, and I'm like, I have to get that one. And luckily Fern likes to hang like from the branches all the time, but she also likes to hang on the mesh way high up in her enclosure. And sometimes I can just like wait till she's napping and then I just clip one real quick. But you can only do one at a time. Fern really doesn't like having her nails clipped, so she'll forgive you for one, but she's not a fan of like you trimming multiple at a time.
I get that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, good question, Beth. How much do they eat? And you showed me her bowl earlier.
Yeah, so I can pull her bowl back over here. Thanks, Johnny. So this is like all the food that we offer on a typical basis. Here's some more.
And this is all for today.
This is all just one day, yeah. Because they're eating mostly vegetation, you know, it's going through her body fairly quickly. Obviously, she stores it for a while, but the fermentation process like takes the nutrients out of the food at a slow rate, but moves stuff through. She'll also eat some vegetation that we offer her from trees and other plants around the park. So we'll cut her down some honeysuckle. She sometimes will eat bamboo. She really likes flowers from Rose of Sharon and other hibiscus derivatives. So we'll offer her some of that stuff throughout the summer for sure. One of her favorite days of the year is like the first day that we have Japanese honeysuckle back growing on grounds. She'll get some of that, and the like tender young shoots are so tasty to her. Where are you trying to go? It seems like you don't even know. She's just sniffing around. You got another booger.
Oh gosh.
Nope. Nope.
Stella wants to know, how do sloths sleep?
Got it. So Fern, funnily enough, lives in a very large enclosure that she can climb all over and do kind of anything that she wants in it. But she loves to feel really squished in and tight. We learned this early on. We like offered her a milk crate that was attached to the wall that she could like go into and hang out in. And ever since then, she's really enjoyed sleeping in that. So that's like her home base. If she's not in there, then she's moving around doing something. She doesn't really like to like spend sedentary time outside of her milk crate. Part of that is likely due to the fact that they have a really low body temperature. And so instead of exposing herself when she's not, you know, moving around or doing something, she curls up nice and tight, and that keeps her body temperature as warm as possible.
She's still considered warm-blooded though, right?
Yeah. So sloths have a really variable body temperature, but also like one of the lower body temperatures of all the mammal species. So definitely can produce their own body heat. However, they don't produce a lot of it. Where are you going, Fern?
That's
This
such
always,
a strange...
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It always scares me, but she knows what she's doing. Like her body can handle this physically because those feet are curved, and so they're really mostly relying on the weight of her body to pull herself down. So sloths, one thing I didn't really mention earlier is they have about 1/3 less musculature than most other mammal species of comparable size. So they have fewer muscles, but the muscles that they do have, like her abdominal muscles, her back muscles, those are working extra to make sure that she can move around high in the treetops. But generally speaking, if she's just hanging out, she's not really expending a lot of energy because the weight of her body is just helping her hold on to the branch here.
You mentioned earlier, Jake,
Where are you going?
that they're related to armadillos and anteaters.
Yes, they are.
Amanda wants to know, what are the similarities and differences between those?
So I mentioned a little bit earlier a couple of the similarities. For one, dentition, sloths and armadillos and anteaters all have weird kinds of teeth. Most of them lack enamel. Sloths have more fang-like teeth, whereas armadillos and anteaters have really flat, crushing teeth like this. That's what they do. They also have extra articulations within the vertebrae of their spine, which allow them to be a little more flexible. And for those of you who have seen armadillos, you know that they have a lot of bands with which they use to cover themselves in armor. And those, having extra articulations is really helpful. That allows them to bend and flex still. And then, oh gosh, what was the other one I mentioned? I don't remember what the other one that I was talking about earlier was. But those are some of the similarities. Some of the differences: sloths hang upside down, armadillos and anteaters do not. A lot of them have like reinforced back muscles for hanging for the sloth for sure. For the armadillo, that's so that they can curl up if they need to protect themselves. And then for the anteater, that's to curl up into defensive posture or to stay warm. Hi, are you about ready to go home? Something tells me you might have to go to the bathroom.
Let me see if I can grab 2 more questions, Jake.
Certainly, yeah. Johnny's just going to get started getting her put back away.
Sure.
It may take a while.
Hank wants to know, what is the oldest sloth?
The oldest ones that I have heard of are at a zoo down in Florida, and they are like 44 and 45 years of age.
Wow,
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. And then, let's see. Kristen wants to know, does Fern have a partner or a boyfriend?
Not yet. She's only 5 now, so she's just about breeding age. Maybe in the future, post-pandemic, when things are like more normal, we may be able to get a partner for her. But at this point, she's single and happy. Good for her. This is her crate that we built for her about 4.5 years ago to help her move around the park. Johnny's doing the heavy lifting today because I have a hernia and Fern is over 10 pounds. I just feel like that's important to mention so that it's not like I'm just putting Johnny to work. She has to do it legally. Thanks, Johnny. My partner in crime here. So Johnny offered the crate to Fern when she looked like she was ready. She waited until all 4 feet were hanging off of the perch because that's the criteria for this behavior. Now she's giving Fern some of her tasty treats to say thank you. So with that, I guess, Kelsey, do you have any last questions you want to answer?
I feel like we've answered most of them at this point. So if you guys have a question that you didn't hear answered, be sure to go back and watch the replay. I'm gonna get one last look at Fern chowing down. Thanks, girl. Happy birthday. And Jake, I think we forgot to talk about something really important.
Yeah. So I have this really cute t-shirt from the Nashville Zoo gift shop, and you can actually get shirts just like this one, including this particular design, which I love, at shop.nashvillezoo.org. And a lot of those proceeds go to help your favorite zoo animals like Fern, our beloved two-toed sloth. We want to thank you all so much for joining us for Fern's 5th birthday. Yay, Fern! Hopefully we'll have many more birthdays here at the zoo. We're really excited to see her grow up. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Yep.
On Instagram.
Yes.
Yes.
That is true. Factual.
To meet our Caribbean flamingo flock and some of our incredible avian keepers.
Yep. And it's going to be really exciting because I believe we're going to watch them come out on exhibit and maybe help with that.
Yes, it'll be very cool. So check that out tomorrow at 11 a.m. And like Kelsey mentioned, if you have other questions that you didn't get answered, make sure you watch the replay of this video because we may have answered them earlier. Thanks again for joining us, everybody, and have a wonderful day.